Thinking out loud, you already know what this is. You know who I am. It's your boy J Lip at I am J Lip on Instagram. You know where to find me. Facebook. I ain't gonna really give my full name out there, but you can go to facebook.com/TOLPcast 100. That is the fan page. That is the page where you can get all the newest and the latest and greatest, the greatest and the best, and all the other shit that you can dream of. TOL Podcast. That is facebook.com/TOLPcast 100. Come and join us. Be a part of the community. Have conversation. Comment, like, subscribe. Do whatever the fuck you feel like doing. And in the meantime, we're going to do what we feel like doing, which is tonight. I want to introduce y'all once again to my brother, my homie, TheyCSmith. TheyCSmith, what's good, baby?
Man, what up, though? What's going on, man?
What up, man? It's been a lot. It's been a lot.
Yeah. It's been a lot past 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, full transparency to let the people know. I mean, we drop the episodes every Friday, rather, at 6 p.m. Y'all gonna see this, and a couple days in past, but at the end of the day, it's a conversation that we need to have, we gotta have, and it's necessary for the culture. It's two things that's been on our minds recently. One of entertainment, and the other of a level of sincerity that I want to dive into first. I apologize for those who know me to be the boisterous and obnoxious person who I am. In this moment, I do not feel that same energy, and it's because we lost another king. We lost another person of the culture who was, I would say, the epitome of what we ask for from our artists when it comes to musicians, hip-hop, media, anything entertainment wise. We always talk about what are people doing to give back to the culture. What are black athletes? What's the LeBron James is doing? Oh, he's opening schools. What are the Diddy's doing? What are the people? What are Jay-Z's doing? But we lost one. We lost one yesterday, because this is being recorded the day after. We lost one yesterday. Nipsey Hussle. Rest in heaven. Rest in power, and rest in peace, and any other God that y'all pray to, rest in that. The man was a true, I would consider, authentic individual, and for that, I have to say that this one hurts, and a lot of people have been sharing that sentiment. I took my hat off, and I tipped my hat off to him because of what he aspired to do for the community and what he executed on while he was here with his limited time on this earth. The man was 33 years old. Smith, how old are you?
32.
And I'm 32 as well. So it does have a certain level of impact from the relativity to how old we are and how close our demise could be, especially given the fact that you don't know about the evils and the darknesses that are out there. I feel like this man was an individual who didn't deserve what happened. You first hear about the news that there was a shooting, then you hear that, Nipsey got hit, then you hear that he passed. And it's unfortunate. I am not going to be disingenuous and say that it didn't hit me hard personally. Before I get too much into the podcast, I will say, I did, upon reading confirmation from, I think it was like MSNBC or NBC or some news source that I feel was credible, saying that he actually was pronounced dead at the hospital. I shed a thug tear. I shed a bunch of tears because I felt that never knew the man personally, but you don't have to know somebody personally to have an emotional connection or really have empathy for what somebody is trying to do. You know what I'm saying? The man was trying to do good. He's outside of his own clothing store in the hood that he built. And we always talk about buy back the block and give back to the hood. And we tired of seeing these rappers make it, get on, move out to Calabasas, Drake and all these other people. And there's no shade to them, but it's some truth to the fact that he held strong to his laurels when it came to where he came from, and he never left. And I think that what hurts me the most, and what I don't understand, and I want to have that conversation with you, Smith, is Well, before we get into the question and answer period, what are your feelings about this? What do you think? I want to open the floor to
I
you.
mean, I'm gonna just play out the whole how everything I found out everything. So we went to MSU or whatnot. So we're watching Michigan State game, and imagine like winning one of the biggest games ever, and then you just right after the game, all that's just sapped out of you, just kills your whole mood because you hear somebody like that's a good dude, like a stand up guy, like we know what he do to his community, like we know like dude is a family man, he got kids, like his kids lost a father, like Lauren London lost a fiance or whatever their situation was, like it's people lost a good friend, like dude was like very knowledgeable when it comes to marketing because he's a marketing genius. He been underground for like multiple years. So I feel as though like once I found out, first I found out he got shot. So I'm like, okay, you hear about rappers getting shot, maybe he'll pull through. And then when you hear the other one saying one person fatally shot, but they're not naming nobody, and I'm like, man, I'm hoping it's not him. And then I see a disturbing video service online. Like people are sick. Like they're posting a video of him getting resuscitated and
People are
CPR being
fucking
done
sick.
to him.
People are
I'm
fucking
like,
sick.
why are you filming that? Like, what makes you think that is even cool? Like, people with cameras just be filming the wrong shit. The shit we need to be finding out on camera, nobody can find shit. So I think it hit me too, because like you said, we're close in age, and even though we don't know him personally, like it hit home. It's like, damn, like he just had probably the biggest year of his career, and he on top of the world, and
Yep.
everything's going good with the business, his clothing store in his own city, in his own hood, the
And
block he grew up on.
and he was
Like,
providing more jobs. He was buying black. He was buying black, providing black, buying back the block, providing opportunities business wise for individuals.
he was very business oriented. Like he was
He
there.
was a smart. He was probably one of the smartest individuals when it comes to being able to translate at his age what the
Right.
knowledge was imposed on. Because you look at people like Jay-Z now or Nas or somebody who we consider to be in our top five that are alive, but he was doing it at 33, like really showing you here's how you can turn this entertainment money into something to grow back what has been taken, what has been deaded from us.
And he took the long route. Like he
Oh
didn't do
yeah.
no major deals. Like he grinded this shit, and they got recognized by the people you named: Jay Z, Nas, Swiss Beats, Rick Ross. Like they recognized his hustle. Like he's a marketing genius. That's what took him to where he was. Before his passing. Like dude was a good dude. Like it fucked me up. Like I really like woke up like 2 times last night. Like it was
Yeah,
just a weird.
I
That
couldn't
last
sleep either.
tweet, that last tweet was very eerie too. Like Tracy's posted that. I'm like, yeah, that was
And just for the
like
people to
I
be
can't get
aware,
told that.
just for the people to be aware, not to interrupt you, the tweet, um, I don't have it up because I want to continue to have the organic dialogue, but it had to do with the fact that he said um, his strongest enemies are his blessings or something along those lines. It was talking
Right.
about your enemies being strong and being a blessing, and then for this to happen, it almost implies that your enemies are stronger than you.
That I remember it now. Having strong enemies is a blessing.
And it was so, and I think the term that Tracy used, shout out to Tracy, shout out to Kevin, um,
Kevin Tracy.
shout out to the to bro. um, I think the term that was used by our guy was that it was an eerie tweet, and it was, because anytime you hear about something like that happening, somebody getting murdered, basically, I mean, it's a murder. Let's call it for what the fuck it is. It was a murder. You don't
Yeah.
shoot somebody in the head with the intent to maim them or to do some slight damage. Like we just got some beef, we just squabbling. Like you meant to kill that man. And so for
Right.
his last tweet to be, with his enemies being so strong, that shit, it was crazy.
It's like you don't know where to start to decode it. What did he mean by that? It's
like, did he know? Did he have a feeling? Did he think something was happening? Did he?
yeah, it's like what led him up to him saying that?
Exactly.
And, of course, there's been the conspiracies that people hate. I'm into conspiracies to a certain degree, but it got to make sense. Because
I want to address that conspiracy thing real quick. So I know it's a lot of people out there that's been talking about, missing me with the conspiracy shit, blah blah blah. There was no way that this was conspiracy. It was all hood shit, blah blah blah. But you know what? At the end of the day, we all have free minds and open minds to think and try to process things how we see them. So if you feel like it was a conspiracy, that's your right. That's your prerogative. And even with myself, that's like asking the question, did Malcolm X really get shot by his own brethren? Did Malcolm X or Dr. King get shot by their own brethren? Did Dr. Sebi, excuse the mispronunciation, did he get killed because he truly found the cure or developed a cure for AIDS? Like, you got to ask yourself these questions like, okay, it's not being asinine to have a conspiracy theory. And we know somebody within our circle who feels, miss me with that. But I'm like, dog, if the shit don't make sense yet, you have to make sense of it for yourself. So you have to go off of what you think. And so with that being said, I'm still on the fence where it could go both ways, because the brother had a date. Literally, today was the day he was going to meet with law enforcement to talk about how to reduce gang violence in his environment. Who wants to have gang violence in the same community that they trying to build entrepreneurship and knowledge and education and growth and financial prosperity for their own people? Like, you can't tell me that the conspiracy shit is just some other shit. It had to be some gang shit. Like, it happened, but we don't know why, and we may never know why.
That's the main thing.
You still got people thinking that Tupac is in Cuba right now because they can't accept the fact that we don't understand why Pac was dropping all this knowledge on his interviews and talking, like, prophesying.
And he also was saying he had enemies and, his days were numbered.
Yes.
I'm not saying Nipsey said his days were numbered, but he knew he had enemies.
Yeah.
But, I did put some thought into my reasoning for the conspiracy theory about the Dr. Sebi documentary was pretty much Nipsey Hussle himself says it. He he know there's a day meaning whoever it is, the upper people that control shit, like government, pharmaceutical companies, whatever you want to call them.
I couldn't say it. I was hoping you would say it. I can't say it.
I don't care. Like, it's out there. He has a video with
Tariq Nasheed.
Yeah.
And he said that if they kill me for this documentary, y'all better ride for me.
Don't pray for me, ride for me.
So what do you think that means, ride for him?
Meaning, don't pray for me, continue what I'm doing.
So how do you feel about
Nick Cannon?
So how do you feel about Nick Cannon taking over the documentary and saying now he's proclaimed on social media he's officially now making sure that the documentary becomes complete. He's going to finish Nipsey Hussle's work. Now, let's keep in mind, Nick Cannon and Nipsey Hussle are two different type of niggas. But
Nick Cannon has white America on his side.
And Nipsey didn't.
And another thing with Nick Cannon, he actually been on this, Black Power, woke, whatever you want to call it. Like, he been talking this shit. So he know how to play both sides of the fence.
Why do people call it? And I'm not saying you. I'm saying people in general. Why do they say woke? Like, if you with what somebody believes, you're woke, and if you don't believe in whatever that theory is, then you're not woke. You sleep. I feel like some niggas, in the words of Charlemagne the God, I feel like some niggas are so woke they sleep. Like, you can't just
sleep talking.
Exactly. It's like, come on, man. Like, if you really think about it, Nick Cannon isn't too closely related to the type of environment that Nipsey's from. Because Nipsey, a lot of people don't realize, Nipsey really came from the mud. Like, that nigga, he was repping his set from the beginning. Got on, being himself, and got knowledge. And as he learned knowledge, he shared knowledge. And I think that there is no reason to not believe that the knowledge he was sharing, similar to, of course, Tupac, similar to a Dr. Martin Luther King, similar to a Malcolm X, there's a situation where you have to kind of compare and say, look, these were black brothers, black kings who were on their way to share knowledge. And I'm not even...
people say, not to cut you
off.
No,
go ahead. Go ahead.
When they say you're too woke, they pretty much saying when a black person is too knowledgeable on certain aspects of things. Like, I don't know, I can't think of an example. Like,
we don't get the knowledge though.
Woke. They would not.
I'm saying we don't get the knowledge though, so he seek that knowledge. So maybe he's woke because
that's why they
he
call you
seeked
that.
it. Yeah,
because they don't expect you to have that, especially him. From what you're saying, his upbringing,
yeah,
with gang affiliation. Well, he was actually in the gang, so
yeah. But here's the tricky part.
They don't expect that from him,
and that's the thing that I hate. I hate about the narrative when they paint the picture of Nipsey. If you look at black social media, you'll see the positivity. You'll see the picture of him and his daughter. You'll see the picture of him and Lauren London and all these locations and the growth and the knowledge. You'll see him with the OGs. You'll see him with Snoop Dogg. You'll see him with all these other artists who have grown and ascended to a certain level of prestige. But then you look at other media, the colonist media, as I call it, and you'll see, former gang member shot and killed. It's like, don't simplify this man's life by being a former gang member. First of all, he wasn't former. He still represent the Rolling Six. Then, at the end of the day, he also said in his interviews that his gang membership was never about violence. It was always about the street fraternity. It's the same shit from back in, you can represent, I feel like you are a person who is necessary for this conversation because you're from Detroit. You're from the Detroit that has, I feel like, a negative connotation to it. Meaning, I happened to watch a video recently which made me think of you and this conversation. One of the homies that we have, Jamies, I watched a video recently about him, of him crossing in his fraternity in college. And he said, representing schoolcraft. So, to me, that in and of itself is almost like a street fraternity. We represent Schoolcraft. We represent West Side Detroit. We represent Puritan. We represent Outer Drive.
You represent your roots.
You represent where you're from. So I feel like that's something that black people inherently have because there is a distinction between where we come from that unfortunately other cultures don't necessarily have in this world because we gravitate to that. Like,
because we honor... that we look back at that like that's what molded me to who I am today.
Exactly. I'm from Redford, you know what I'm saying?
It don't matter where,
West Side. Wherever it was where you from and you rep that set. And that set is not necessarily putting a gun in your hand and going and telling you to rob your local corner store, blah blah blah. It might have been where you rode your bike as a kid and y'all ran the block. And if somebody from another block was around, y'all might have chased them niggas out because they not from here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I remember a story. I don't know if you're comfortable sharing this, but I do recall a story that we talked about a long time ago. And this was a story about you and me's coming out of school with a rival.
And I don't mind that. That's real shit.
Share it with the people so they understand that it wasn't on no gang affiliation shit. It's just how we grew up.
Man, it was just some school rivalry shit. Like, some kids from our school jumped some kids at another school at a mall, Northland, which is closed now, which is a mall in Detroit. We're actually the first mall ever in America. People didn't know that. But pretty much they jumped the kids from another school. And then, we're hearing rumors about it the next day. They talking about, they school coming up here to jump ours. And long story short, we're inside looking outside the building. We see people walking around pointing up at us. And we like, what does that mean? Like, is this for real? Like, so if y'all are familiar with Ninja Turtles, the first Ninja Turtles that came out in the early 90s, it was like one of those scenes when they jumped Raphael and them motherfuckers coming out of. They had a U-Haul truck.
Oh, shit.
These niggas came out of a U-Haul truck and they jumping over fences. It was a chaos. This was, mind you, this was on 8 Mile in Greenfield.
Mm-hmm.
So it was some crazy shit. Like, I've never seen no shit like that. And it was like everybody for themselves. It was like, it was crazy.
So I say
gang related, but I know schools have rivals everywhere, even in the suburbs.
So you break that down, and I appreciate how eloquently you broke that down. You said it's not just gang related. It could be your school. It could be your street. Shit, I've seen niggas that rep they zip code. Shout out to the homie D Woods. You know, like, there's homies that have rep they zip code. Dej Loaf repped her zip code in her song. Like, that's where you're from, and those are your roots. So for this man to be gunned down, and I say gunned down because ain't nobody shoot nobody with that level of accuracy to get him in the head from a distance. So when I say gunned down, somebody infiltrated, got close enough, started spraying, and then got the hell out of Dodge. And they saying that the man was on foot and got into a whip with a female driver, is what the news is saying.
Yeah, now what I saw recently before we got on the podcast, they're saying it's somebody from the Rolling 60s, somebody that he actually knew. So they have the face of him also. It's posted up. And they're saying it was, you know, they don't know the motive, but they're saying it's possibly him, and the police looking for him right now. And they do have footage of the actual shooting now, TMZ.
And they should, because there was actually, somebody did an analysis of the store. I think it's called Marathon. The store that Nipsey has called Marathon. And they showed that he has at least 2 security cameras outside, but there's no footage that's been shown. And I saw somebody post on. Go ahead.
I'm saying, of course, they don't want to post it right now.
Right, because they got to investigate. We got to let, so at a certain point, we have to let law enforcement do their job. They can't just say, we got video, we going to put it out there. The only time that they do that is when they've identified a suspect and they want people to confirm, like, okay, let us know where this guy's at. Let us know where this person is at so we can, you know, get some tips. They do the tip line and give you $100 for a tip.
His face is out there now, so they're some street, what's the word for it? Street justice.
Well, in the words of Charlamagne, you might as well turn yourself in, because either you turn yourself in and get protected by the police and then serve your time, or you let the streets handle it.
Man, if his face out there, I literally saw his face like 30 minutes ago. And
really? Okay.
And shit spread like wildfire on social media. So
I did not see that.
Yeah. And if people actually know him, they probably know where he hang out, where he be. But if you did something like this, you know you gotta get the fuck out of Dodge. You did it in broad daylight, so you clearly didn't give a fuck. Like,
now I don't want to put you in a precarious situation, but I do want to ask you if the situation were personal to you, meaning if you knew of a person who committed this type of heinous crime against somebody who was a family member or a friend, do you, and this is just a general, like literally a tangent question, but do you believe in street justice? Do you believe that the streets should be able to handle what they need to handle? Like, you got what you got coming to you?
I feel as though, yeah, especially if that's what you live by.
That's your code. Then you got to live and die by the code.
You got to live by that code. If you live by the street, you die by the street. But if it's some regular family and, you know, somebody just, you know, kill a family member of yours, if that's not your lifestyle, I don't expect you to retaliate in that manner. But if it's some street shit involved, it's going to get handled in the streets 9 times out of 10. If they don't get to you, they're going to get somebody close to you. That's just how it go.
That's how it go. Well, I don't want to end it on a negative note, so I will say this. I want to bring it back and say, you know, again, big ups to any and everybody who has been supportive of Nipsey. Victory Lap was the album he dropped last year, February.
Grammy nominated. Only got beat out by Cardi B. And, you know, it was a great, dope album. I know some people even said they're not a huge fan of him musically, but they love what he did as far as his philanthropy for the culture. And I think that's what we need to celebrate. We need to celebrate the fact that this man made an imprint and he showed us a different way. You know, and he showed us a different way
with boots on the ground, not necessarily, and no disrespect to Jay and Nas and 50 and everybody else who can do it from what I consider to be the high level of the mansion, or the pent floor suite, the penthouse suite. Like, those people, they do give. Like, of course, we can't take them from Jay helping Meek with the criminal justice violations that have been occurring and all that. But Nipsey did it feet on the ground, 10 toes down. 10 toes down. He was right there at his place of business doing a documentary, and somebody decided to do this. So with that being said, I want to give you the last word on that topic, and all I'm going to say is rest in paradise, brother, because at the end of the day, this is a battle that we know not how to resolve at this point. In my heart of hearts, I really feel like we really don't know as a culture how to I guess I'll say it like this. It was a somber day today. It was like everybody's energy was low. Everybody felt away. Like, everybody. And
because even if you didn't know him, you probably knew somebody that died to gun violence or something similar. Exactly. Like, so you related to it.
And I'm a host of the podcast, so I can't let my emotions overwhelm me. But man, it's I'm fighting back them boys right now, because I the more we talk about it, the more I recognize that that's a rarity in our culture, and it fucking sucks, because
it's a good dude, man.
And we even got people within ourselves infighting about this. Like, you got the people that's going like, don't talk about no conspiracy, and then you got people talking about some, well, he shouldn't have been on no gang shit in the first place. And it's always the people from the outside that infiltrate coming in, and then you got us black people infighting is the ultimate end game. I ain't talking about the Avengers bullshit. I'm talking about the grand plan. The grand plan is the infighting and the destruction of our culture from within.
Because we're talking about the wrong shit. Like,
exactly.
His kid lost a father. Like, his girl lost a significant other. Yeah, we could think what we want to think, but it's about them right now, And, everybody gonna think what they want, We'll find out, one way or another, or we might not. That's pretty much the world we live in.
But it's going to get handled one way or the other, I believe. It's going to get handled. Because somebody saw something, somebody told something, like you said, just moments ago before the podcast, you seen Dude Face. If you seen Dude Face in Detroit, niggas seen Dude Face in L.A.
No, they saw it in L.A. Yeah. And they probably already knew.
That's a tough reality, Smith.
Yeah, that's like.
So, in closing, again, I think we both on the same accord, man. Rest in paradise, my brother.
Let his music live on,
Oh yeah, live through the music.
He was on his way to greatness, man. He was on his way to greatness.
There's so many ways we could take this topic, and I don't want to monopolize the conversation. We damn near spent an episode's length of time talking about it, but we have to. If you got the time, we gotta address the other situation that we talked about.
Let's go for it.
All right, fuck it. So, transitioning with the moment of silence that we gave, with the peace that we gave, we now have to get into some other shit, which is maybe just as mentally fucked up as any other situation that you could imagine from a cinematic / entertainment perspective. Nowhere near that of losing the life of a great like Nipsey, but we are indeed going to address this issue of the movie Us. The movie Us, Jordan Peele's second film that he's been the director, writer, and producer of. Us, what was your opinion?
What was my opinion on the movie?
On the movie, yeah. We're going to start with the baseline. What did you think about the movie?
Well, going into the movie, I had high expectations. I felt as though, no, I didn't think it was going to be a Get Out Part 2. I thought it was just going to be its own movie in itself, based off, the trailer. I've had no idea. I mean, of course, we saw the doubles or the twins or whatever you want to call them. Once I started watching the movie, I was just trying to figure out everything, because I could tell how the beginning started, like this was a message and this was going to come up later in the movie. So I try to take that in and just try to process that while following the movie. So as the movie continued, I'm like, it's dragging for the most part.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, my
was
wife
like,
fell asleep at the first probably 15 minutes.
I'm sitting there like, okay, when are we gonna get to,
Get to the shits.
to the fucks? About to go to the fuck shit.
Yep.
So, they jumped into that probably rather quickly, I felt the other shit was unnecessary. As far as like the beach scene and like, there was a lot of fillers. But once the other family came, that's when I was confused. Like,
Yeah, for reference, we're gonna call them the tethered. That's what they call themselves. So we'll say
tethered.
the tethered.
Yeah, the tethered. So the tethers popped up, and then the other family tethers popped up. So I'm like, okay, so.
See, that's the point where I realized it wasn't a black film. That's when I realized when the white people's tethered came and just sliced all them niggas' necks, I was like, oh my God. Like,
so why you thought it was just a black film?
Because the trailer was positioned in that way for me. So all you saw in the trailer was what it looked like to be a black family fighting the evil version of the black family. That's what it looked like in the trailer. So
of themselves.
Of themselves, right. But still family versus family. So the scenes in the trailer where, they're standing out there holding hands and all of a sudden they all disperse and try to break into the house, and then you see them sitting still and they looking at each other, and then the little boy goes, "It's us." And from that point I was like, oh shit, okay, this is like a movie about the inner black or the inner disenfranchised, impoverished black family trying to gain back some type of revenge on the upper echelon. And then when you see the white family get sniped, then it's like, oh no, it's about everybody who's disenfranchised, everybody who's in poverty, everybody who's been the subject of this sick and twisted experiment of cloning coming up. Basically, they said.
That's what I was talking about today at work. I'm like, they didn't. I feel like there was a lot of plot holes because I didn't get to tell you what I felt.
No,
like,
go ahead.
I felt as though the plot holes, which was quite a few. I know everybody like, oh, that ain't no big deal, but it is. It's like, why did it take her? Because she got capped. They switched bodies as a kid. So she was like 9 years old. So it took her 30 years to come with this plan. And how big is this fucking tunnel? Because this shit goes across the whole country. Because if you notice, all of them was locked in, even through the fucking water. So I'm like, what took so long? How the fuck are you surviving off raw rabbits? And where are you getting the rabbits from? You got to go up top to get the rabbits. Like,
well, remember, so here's the answer to two of those things you mentioned. The first thing is, at the beginning of the film, they said that there's 1,000 tunnels and underneath the ground embankments that there are. So they're not connected. They're not necessarily connected, because there was a part of the movie where the newscaster said that people were saying people were coming out of the sewers. Now, where we found the tethered weren't from the sewers. They were from that one little kind of mirror maze or whatever you want to call it at the beach. So that was just one group. But people coming out of the sewers goes back to the original text from the beginning of the film, where they talked about how there's all these thousands of unmanned tunnels, blah, blah, blah. They also So they talked about the fact that they were doing an experiment, and they said once the experiment went left, meaning we can create two bodies, but it's only going to be one soul, they basically was like, okay, fuck it, we just going to discard it. So that's when they left them to their own devices. And I think that's why you start to see the rabbits running around all willy-nilly or whatever you want to call it, because there was nobody controlling that environment. And the eating of the rabbits was because rabbits reproduce the most rapidly in the animal kingdom, as far as like what you can actually dominate and then eat. Like, you could say like lions reproduce more, but you ain't gonna fucking eat a lion. You can't do that.
So you pretty much saying they didn't have to go get any because they just fucking
that's the whole intro where they show the 5-minute pan out of all the rabbits in the cages. They just make
Right.
the rabbits keep fucking until the rabbits have more kids, and then they just keep eating more rabbits. Like, that's how they were surviving. Then you add into that fact that those people had never made it up out of that sanctuary that they were in. They never learned how to speak, which is why they said old girl was special, because she was the only one that could speak. They realized she was special because of that fact. And then when old girl came up and she had the crackly voice, and this is something I did not know until I spoke with my wife and some of our friends after seeing the film. They was like, yeah, if you could speak until the age of, let's say, like you said, 9, right? If you were 9 years old and that's the last time you could speak to somebody, and then after that nobody ever understood what you said, and you hadn't talked for another 30 years, then that's why she was like, be careful, like all that, like, because she never used her voice since she was snatched, or I wouldn't say snatched, but since she was swapped out. And then that explains why the little girl who came up couldn't speak at all, because they never taught them how to speak when they were doing that experiment. And that's why it took so long. And she even said on the beach, one thing I just found out, on the beach, the white lady said, what's wrong with you? Like, what's good? And she was like, she put her hands together. She was like, I'm just not good at talking and communicating. I was like, oh shit. Okay. All right. So, okay, I'm seeing what you're doing. But the moment that I realized that she was the true doppelganger was when she kept telling, she was so anxious the entire movie. Where are the kids? Where's my son? Where's my daughter? Like, where's everybody? And when they were sitting on the sofa and the tethered were looking at them, and they looked back, and Gabe talking his ass off, talking about some, I got money, I could take it to the ATM, I got a boat even, you know. At that point, I was like, and she was like, Gabe, like, shut, like, nigga, like, shut up. Like, they're not here for your money. They're here for your fucking life. Like, that's when I knew she knew something that nobody else knew. There had to be something behind that. And also remember, she could never kill the kids. When the daughter got through from the car and was mangled up in the tree, she couldn't stab the daughter because that was her daughter. She couldn't kill the son, and she even pleaded out for him like, no, don't go into that fire. This nigga is trying to kill your fucking family, and you're telling him, no, don't kill yourself? It's because she's one of them. So there was all these like nuances.
And she also talked about how she had to love the husband. And
right. So she said, you had a prince named Gabe, and I had to have Abraham, and Abraham is obviously Gabe's doppelganger. And then talked about the whole C-section situation and how she had to perform her own C-section. Like, everything they did above ground, they had to do underground because there was only one soul. So it's two bodies, but we share the soul, so we have to go through the same shit together.
So, if they're sharing souls, that means they know everything the other person is doing at all times.
I can't say all times. What I will say is, you know what they're doing.
How would they know they had the same, they had kids? Like, how would they know all of this?
I think that they had the same soul, but what I will say is this. There's a reason why in that final fight scene that Red is her name in the movie, Red, but she was the doppelganger of Lupita. Red knew how to basically dance around and dodge every one of her swings is because she knew her. Like, they had the same soul, so she knew what she was thinking before she was thinking it. She was like, oh, you're going to swing above my head? I'll just duck. She didn't even fight her in a combative situation. She was dancing around her. She was making her lose her energy and lured her into that little room with all the bunks and whatnot, with the plan then of ending it all, killing her and taking over her life. But it didn't work out that way because for whatever reason, and that could be a plot hole in and of itself, Lupita had the knowledge to turn around real quick and hit her with the little fireplace poker, like straight up into the gut. And then you see the son sees that, and he also saw the part of the movie where she was stabbing the white lady with the scissors and saw that animalistic feral mentality. And then as soon as she saw that the son saw her, she threw the scissors away quick as hell. It was like, oh no, it's me, it's mom. I'm okay. It's all good. All of that shit showed me that she was not authentic. She did not belong there. She was not.
So it was going to be a twist.
I knew it was going to be a twist when she threw the scissors because at the end of the day, they did all this shit to defend themselves. You had the daughter with the fucking putt golf club. You had the son with the little statue thing hitting people, blah blah blah. But it wasn't
a bitch in that movie.
You said what now?
The daddy was a bitch in that movie.
Yeah, daddy. I ain't gonna say daddy. I'm gonna say Gabe was a bitch in that movie.
The daddy, the family guy.
Yes. The father.
I didn't say daddy. I said daddy.
So daddy was. That's gonna be a good clip. Daddy was a bitch in that movie. So
do your ass around with that.
So daddy was a bitch in that movie, but when he was like, "Oh, y'all want to," he was slapping the bat in his hand. He was like,
"What did he say?"
He said, "If y'all want to get rough, we can get rough," or whatever he said. Like he was just standing there slapping a bat in his hand. But this is after he went back in the house and said, "Okay, let's call the police." And she was like, "It's gonna take him 15 minutes.
Your life is your family is in danger." And
Smith,
they portrayed a black man or a black film running back for the white man.
Nigga, all right. So look,
man. But I feel as though like we expected more out of him just off his character in Black Panther, which can't be portrayed the same because it's two different movies.
Bro,
but
I'm gonna suggest to you and everybody else listening, go check out James Winston's interview on the Breakfast Club. He talks about the fact that they wrote his character like that on purpose because your doppelgangers are technically supposed to be you, but the opposite of your worst traits are their best traits. So if you think about the fact that the nigga outside took the bat out of his hand while he's trying to push the door against him and beat him in the leg one time so hard that the nigga fell and it fucked his leg up for the rest of the movie. Like, how you get hit in your leg one time and all you did was get dragged by the leg, you hopping along, you're using the bat as a crutch, you pussy. And think about the fact, and this is the last thing I'm going to say because we're going to do a part 2 to this. We need to do a deep dive onto this. Are you down with that?
Of course.
All right, so this is all I'm going to leave us with for today. Part 1, because again, with respect to Nip, I got to say this before we get, too out of touch on this focal point with the movie. Notice there was a part near the end before the final battle where the daughter asks the father, "What about mom?" And he says, "She knows what she's doing." This nigga's wife, the mother of his children, goes down the stairwell.
Helping my point.
Right. And I'm with you. I agree. That to me is bitch made from the beginning. It's cooked up in the kitchen, bitch made. That you don't ever not go after the creator of your seed. So that was the mother.
Rock.
That's right. That's in the words of Kevin Hart, that's your rib. You know what I'm saying? Even though he cheated twice.
Watching your fake son get caught on fire.
Right, watching and nobody paying attention to the real son. Nobody's paying attention to the real daughter. They just so at the end of that, he goes, "She knows what she's doing." That was just pussy. That was an excuse to say the reason why I'm not going down that stairwell to chase after anybody is because 1, my fucking leg been broke for 2 hours, and 2, I'm pussy. Like that's what he was.
Full-blown pussy.
Exactly. Blown out.
And I'm done with this shit. I'm going to let her handle this.
Right. And we don't know if he really even believed that, but we know he was pussy enough to look at the people holding hands, the doppelgangers, and say, "Oh, this is some fucked up performance art shit." Like, nigga, this ain't the time for jokes. You're fucking about to die. It's you and your child. Your son is missing. He never even asked, "What happened to our son?" He never said that. And I think that was perfect. I think that was perfect writing on Jordan Peele's part to show how much of a bitch he was. And then if you look at the doppelganger, that nigga came out the water on some like Jason versus Freddy shit. Like 3 times came to get that nigga. Like came out the water like he didn't even need to breathe. He was just like, "Oh, you back? Here we go." And then Gabe kept getting lucky.
He hit the motor on his ass.
Yep, hit the motor, chopped him up. Exactly. And that was one of those what I call a lucky call. But then you look at that, and then you see him shoot that flare gun and miss the fuck out of the target. And it's like,
first off, you hide in the fucking boat,
right,
in the dark.
Right.
You know somebody.
Right.
No. You cornered yourself.
in the worst part of the boat. You have no opportunity to escape. This man comes downstairs, you shooting straight and narrow down a stairwell, and you missed. And you missed. And then you just sitting there, and now you got to wrestle with him. Now, granted, you know, we ain't going to, well, fuck it. It's been out. He won. However, we going to get to it. We going to get to it. But the takeaway.
We already talked about the movie. If you're going to watch it, you're going to watch it. Like.
Right, yeah. We already talked about it. We got to do a deeper dive, though, because there's some other plot holes that I want to address.
Unless a few that I got to, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole episode devoted to plot holes. And we're going to pull the shits out one by one. In the meantime.
In the actual definition of the title.
No, I'm with you. We're
gotta combine that.
We're not gonna let that leak out yet, because that's perfect. What you just said is perfect. So with that being said, it's your boy J Lip at I am J Lip on Instagram. You can catch me on Facebook, facebook.com/TOLPcast 100. That's where we at. That's where all the new episodes will be. Come fuck with us, comment, like, subscribe, all that shit. If you don't fuck with us, fuck you. And I got the homie Smith in the building, TheyCSmith, my bro, my brother, man. If you need to holler at him, catch him where?
On Instagram and Snapchat, TheyCSmith, THEY, the letter C and Smith.
There you go. And also, want to let y'all know, this is an executive producer of the music on the podcast. So the intro, the outro, anything you hear on the podcast, unless I otherwise let y'all know, it's him. He is the guy behind all the music. He is the guru. He is a legend, in my opinion, and he's one of the greatest I've ever heard. This is that nigga right here. So if you hear this outro, which I know you do because I'm putting it in here, every intro, every outro is a TheyCSmith production. He does this shit. He's gracious enough to let the homie have it, you know, off the love. We ain't gonna talk about the purchase price I had to pay, you know, but regardless, he's taxing. Get your chips up so you can get one of these TheyCSmith beats. In the meantime, instrumentals, I should say, because it's more than just beats. Instrumentation, the musicianship, the damn melodies, it's incredible. Check him out, please. Support, love, and if this lesson about Nipsey Hussle has taught us anything, it has taught me personally, give people the roses while they're here to smell them. I love you, C. Smith. Thank you, bro.
Hey, man, I love you too, bro, man.
All right, and with that, thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for participating in this bullshit that we call Thinking Out Loud podcast. We'll be back for another one, part 2. Until then, we out.
Yeah.
Peace. Rest in heaven. Nip.
Yes, sir.
Slauson.